I'd like to start the meeting. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Township of Old Bridge Zoning Board of Adjustment, regular meeting, June 2024. It's also the first day of summer. Welcome to summer, everyone. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Old Bridge Township Zoning Board of Adjustment has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, at least 48 hours prior to the commencement of this meeting, by posting in the municipal complex an announcement giving the time, the date, the location, and the agenda of this meeting, mailing such announcement to the Home News and Tribune, filing such a copy of such announcement with the municipal clerk, and posting the agenda on the municipal website. Ms. Secretary, Ms. Vice Secretary, could we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Ms. Andrews?
Present.
Ms. Chevalier?
Here.
Mr. Izzo?
Here.
Mr. Scogno?
Here.
Mr. Stoner? Chairman Sullivan?
Here.
Ms. Testaverde, I'm sorry.
Present.
Okay, just a couple of housekeeping items. This meeting is being televised on cable TV channel 15 here in Old Bridge Township. Simultaneously, it is being recorded and played on YouTube Live. So if you ever want to reflect back on the meeting, you can find this meeting on YouTube. I'm going to wait 1 second. Another member of the board is coming forward. To those tonight, there's a lot of what we would call homeowner issues tonight. There's only one commercial issue, to make it simpler for you to understand. The homeowner issues, most of you aren't going to be represented, so you're going to be presenting your own application. So when you hear me talk to the first one, you're going to learn real quick how to do this. So it's kind of, pretty much, it's your application. You're going to tell the board why you're here, what's the reason, what you're trying to accomplish. It's very simple. It'll go back and forth. We'll make it as least complicated as possible. However, this is a quasi-judicial process in which certain proofs have to be put on the record. The man seating to my right, your left, is an attorney. He's here for the purpose of making sure that the board conforms to the law. So again, he's not here to represent you, but I may ask him at times to try and prod you. So it's not in a bad way, it would probably be in a beneficial way. So having said that, that would be all I need to tell you now. We do have a lot of homeowner issues on tonight, so I think we can fit them all in. I'm hoping we will. I think only one of them is off on the agenda. So we have one application that's commercial. It's going to be very quick. It was for a vote. We'll see how that goes this evening. I'll move to the agenda now. Number 3 is minutes of June 6th, Board 2024. Hopefully everybody had a chance to look at them. Absent any comments or questions or deletions or additions, please, someone move them for adoption.
Move it.
Mr. Scogno and
Move it.
Ms. Testaverde, roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. All right, we have one resolution this evening. It's 39-2023Z, JCP&L, Major Preliminary Final Site Plan with D variance. Mr. Clancy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This was heard at our last meeting back 2 weeks ago. This is for 1345 Englishtown Road, Block 2600, Lot 1.11. This was expansion of a non-conforming use. This was the one we heard where it was an underground tank. They're going to dig it up, put a new one in above ground. They needed some relief for that. There was a D2 use variance for expanding that non-conforming use, and also a couple bulk variances related to landscape area ratio, the minimum buffer along the right-of-way, and the minimum side yard setback. The board did vote on this and did approve it. It is on for approval tonight. Other than the typical requirements that or conditions that we see with this, they're going to work with the township planner regarding installation of trees and landscaping to minimize some of the impact of that, and also to limit the lighting spillover onto any neighboring properties. So this is ready to be moved.
Thank you, Mr. Clancy. Board members, someone will move this for adoption.
Andrews, move it.
Is there a second?
Testaverde.
Testaverde, seconds. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. All right, that is it for that. We're going to move to applications. The first one we have is 50-2023Z. This is a continuation. It's All-American Ford seeking major preliminary and final site plan with a D variance. Peter Clauser representing. Sir, I will say that there's another member of the board that joined this evening. Mr. Izzo,
I would like to excuse myself from,
you going to recuse yourself, sir? Okay, you have a conflict?
yes,
Okay, you can step down.
thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Clauser.
No, thank you. So we were here last month. We didn't have enough, you had a quorum, you had enough board members, but, because it requires a supermajority, there aren't enough. I believe we have 6 voting members now this evening. I just would wonder if we could get on the record, Mr. Chair and Mr. Clancy, that all the board members that weren't here at periodic different times have reviewed the transcripts and have signed their certifications. We have an issue in another matter where the judge is making a big deal that wasn't clear on the record, so I just want to get that on the record.
Ms. Percelli, is that the case?
I'm sorry?
Do we have signed certificates that anybody that wasn't here for any of the
Yes,
hearings?
I do.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to get that on. It's nothing that this board hasn't done correctly, but
No, I understand.
a judge in another matter just started making a big deal about it, so I just want to get it clear on the record.
Mr. Clauser, I did see those certificates. I have signed them prior to this being presented tonight.
Okay, so I'd like to say a couple of things, and I'd like to move forward. I think it's a good application, it's a good board, and so you have a business that's been in town for quite some time. We expect that they're going to be in town for quite a longer time. There's an existing piece of property which is available for purchase, which is the subject of the application. It's presently being operated in a non-conforming manner by others, not by us. The applicant is proposing to take over that property, create a parking storage area for the dealership, and in doing so, secure approvals and permits, some of which we already have, from the DEP to protect the wetlands that are in that area, not to build in any of those wetlands. So you have your business owner, who's going to take over a non-conforming property, make it conforming, put some regulation on it, take some control over the wetlands, and make sure that they're protected. And then next, you have an applicant who initially proposed not only the parking storage area, but also a service facility on an existing lot that's owned by All American. But during the course of the hearings, we heard some concerns from both the board and the neighbors, specifically, I think mostly about the impacts, not only to the neighbors, but the increased trips that would be created on Old Amboy Road. And hearing that, the applicant removed that facility from the property and is only having the parking area. And more importantly, switched the type of cars that would be parked in the parking area. A lot of the trips that were generated were trips for the vehicles that are under repair would have to be going back and forth. And we heard numbers that there could be 100 trips a day, and that was significantly reduced to 5 or 10 was in the testimony. So severely lessening the impacts on Old Amboy Road as a result of this. You heard testimony from Mr. Savino about how the new cars are distributed. And then in addition to that, we've made commitments to the neighbors and to the board that we would work with those 3 neighbors that are in this commercial area. They're stuck there. And we heard from them. I see one more is still in the room this evening. Working with increasing landscaping with your staff, the construction of a fence that's acceptable to the staff and the neighbors, working with some existing dead and dying landscaping that are on either our property or their properties, and then most importantly, I think probably working with your engineering department to do anything that we can to alleviate any stormwater issues that currently exist out on the site. We have a plan that is conforming to the stormwater regulations, but if we can go a step further, we will. And then in addition to that, we heard some comments from the neighbors about the current operation, and I think your applicant took immediate steps, which is a good thing. I don't think that they should be frowned upon because they took the information and took steps to open up those driveways, paint the curbs, send letters to employees to stay off the road, write more letters, you heard in great detail, to the trucks that deliver the vehicles that they have to follow direction, create some alternate routes, and actually take one of the neighbors' suggestions of numbering parking spaces in the storage areas for both the used cars and the cars that are in for repair, so that we can hopefully reduce the number of clicker and beeping sounds that are out there. And then lastly, the actual use, the actual structure that will be constructed, a parking area, is a permitted use in the zone. As a result of, an interpretation which we are following from your planner, because it is connected to what was a pre-existing non-conforming use, we're in front of this board. But keep in mind that the actual structure that's going to be constructed, a parking area, is something that the governing body in adopting the ED03 zone felt was appropriate for this area. And so with all of those things in mind, the applicant working with the board and the neighbors and your professionals, and a structure that's actually permitted in the zone, I would ask that the board act favorably on the application.
Thank you, Mr. Klausner. I would agree with you that Mr. Savino appeared here on all the times that you met before us. I was happy to hear that he lessened the intensity of what the original application was. There is going to be no building, and that's going to be used as parking area only. So I was happy to hear that, and I think that was the tenor of those that came to speak, I wouldn't say against, but upset that it might not work out. Ms. Miller, who was here on both occasions from the public, I thought last time that she seemed satisfied that that wasn't going to be that work area where a garage would be constructed, but only the use for a parking lot. I know she went back and forth a little bit with some amenities that really are not part of the application, but I was hoping that Mr. Savino, and I had said that to him, could work with the neighbor as a good business. The business has existed there for years. It's existed, and it employs a lot of people. I'm sure brings revenue into the township. I think they're probably a good neighbor. I'm sure that we did hear some situations of the men who move the cars maybe are a little loud at times, but I think that's the nature of just being next to a business, and that business has been there long before Mr. Savino even owned that business. So I think that your professionals have laid the grounds for the proofs, and I haven't heard anything back that was refuted by the township professionals. So in my opinion, I think you've met the burden. I don't know how the board will vote. I'm certainly going to support your application.
Thank you.
We're not opening this to the public because there is no new testimony. I will ask any board member if you want to make a comment, but we're not going to seek new testimony. None? On my left? And on my right. Mr. Clancy, anything? All right. You are going to seek a vote, sir?
Absolutely.
Okay. We have a D3, I believe, right?
D2?
This
Is
is
it D2?
D2 expansion of pre-existing because it's in a pre-existing as an accessory use to another lot. So we have a D2.
Then we have bulks, correct?
We have two, I think we're down to 2C variances on this. It involves that parking area. Say exactly what they're
I
for.
think they're properly called out in your professional report, and I think we could rely on that if that's what.
Yeah, so we have minimum parking area landscape buffer, 25 is what's required, 21 is what they're requesting, and then they got a rear and side lot line parking area setback. Same thing, 25 is required, 21 is what they're requesting, so it's fairly minimal. And then we have preliminary site plan and major site plan. I don't think there's any waivers.
I think there were a couple of waivers with regard to the parking lot, which last time we put on the record that those are the waivers that are in the review report.
Okay, yes.
There is.
I do have a note
Some
on
of them don't make sense. It's not a Kmart. I can't believe I just said Kmart.
that. So there'll also
Big box store.
Yeah.
yeah, so we also have design waivers as well, and effectively to comply with what's in the June 6th planning and engineering lot. I know it was originally a requirement to consolidate lots 4 and 6.11. Is that still?
I can
Plan.
I can go over this with you now. 6.11 is the lot where the existing storage is. Whatever's owned by All American Ford's holding company, I can consolidate. One of the lots on there, which I think is a 15, is owned by our landlord, and I can't consolidate that. But the two
Understood.
lots that'll be connected can be consolidated.
Okay. And then as far as any conditions that are on there, there was a condition they're going to comply with the pre-existing lighting requirement, which was off at 11, I think.
And even more. We even said we'll work with the neighbor to find some areas where our hotspots are and we'll turn them down. I don't know we can necessarily, other than say we'll work with them, I don't know we can make that a very specific condition, but no problem at all.
Understood. There was agreed to a gate at the entrance to Lot 4, which is going to be closed at night.
It's good for everybody.
And then there was a couple issues of just working with the town engineer as we move forward as far as mitigation of water collection, the lighting, and that is, I think that's it. And on the effective landscape buffers. That's all I have.
So we would agree to all those enumerated in the memo and put on in testimony that we both agree on.
Yes.
Okay. So let's see how the D2 goes, and then we'll move on to the bulks.
Thank you.
Anybody interested in moving the D2 variance for the use?
Chevalier will move it.
Is there a second?
Andrews, second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. All right, as to the bulks, as enumerated in the memo, is that good by you?
Yes, yeah, that works for me.
Is it okay, Mr. Clancy?
Yes, the two that we read out are the ones that are called out in the memo.
Thank you. For the Cs,
Chevalier will move it.
is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
I'm sorry, who's second? Andrews?
Oh, yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Sorry, yes.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo? I'm sorry, Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, and we had design waivers because of the parking, I believe.
Correct.
Design waivers, someone?
I'll move it, Stoner.
Mr. Stoner, is there a second?
Andrews,
Ms.
second.
Andrews, seconds. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes. Major preliminary site plan.
I'll move it, Stoner.
Mr. Stoner, is there a second?
Chevalier?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, and final site plan.
I'll move it, Stoner.
Okay, is there a second? Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes.
Great.
Mr. Clausen, thank you and your professionals for the presentations.
Thank you very much. And just, when you mentioned Mr. Savino, I told everyone to stay home. They called me all this morning and said, should we come, should we come? So there was no disrespect to the board. I said, stay home.
No, and I thought we agreed on that last
Yeah.
time, that there wasn't going to be any
I just
testimony.
wanted to be sure.
That's okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, we gotta give one.
Just one moment. We're going to give the stenographer a second to pack up her equipment, and we'll move on to the applications for the evening. We're going to go a little out of order here. The first one I'm going to call tonight is 11-2024 Z. Carol Baker. Yeah, just give her 1 second to move out of the way. Okay. That's okay, Deb. Take your time.
Baker. Baker, okay.
Carol Baker. Okay. All right, once again, this is 11-2024Z, Carol Baker. This is low-density residential zone R30. This is block 1123.13, lot 1.13. Physical locations 180 Amboy Road in Manawan. This is for an addition to a single-family home. C&D variance required. Anthony Cambria, Esquire, representing the applicant. Sir? make it go green by pushing the button. There we go. And it's directional, so you're going to have to get it close.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. With me this evening, I'm Anthony Cambria, appearing on behalf of the applicants, Carol and her daughter Cassidy Baker. Cassidy is not here, she's a nurse. Carol Baker is to my right with her newborn granddaughter. To my left is Will Esri, our architect, licensed to practice here in New Jersey. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, before I begin, I think I would be remiss in not just taking a moment to recognize both Maureen Porcelli and Danny Hollahan. Admittedly, while I'm an attorney practicing in New Jersey for the last 20-some-odd years, I do very little zoning work and variance applications, and I think I probably made that very clear to the board, to the departments here when I came here. They have both gone out of their way. They have been generous with their time and energy, and it's much appreciated, and I didn't want that to be lost on it.
You know they're going to want to get a pay raise now.
Well, they deserve
Fortunately,
it.
the salaries are already set. But thank you for the compliments.
They deserve it, and just even for example, I had one time I asked Mr. Hollahan if he would jump on a conference call with Mr. Esri just because they spoke the same language. He did so immediately without remorse, without recourse at all. As for Ms. Porcelli, every time I brought up documents or had any questions, they've taken their time to walk me through things. So again, it's just truly appreciated.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
As for the application itself, as you cited, that this is, the applicants are requesting both a use and a bulk variance to a single-family home. Ms. Baker, they had purchased a home just about a year ago, slightly under $400,000. They have plans to put in probably close to another $300,000 into the property. Obviously, it's been a year since they've had any access to anything. They're certainly eager to go forward with it. As to the specifics of the bulk and use variance, at this time, I would defer to Will Esri, who can speak to it at a much clearer level than I, so.
Sure, we'll have him sworn in.
Just raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you'll provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay. Can you just place your name on the record for us?
My name is William L. Essery III, licensed architect in New Jersey.
How do you spell your last name?
E-S-A-R-E-Y.
Thank you, Mr. Esri.
And I'm sorry, you said professional planner?
Architect. Professional architect.
Oh, you're licensed in the state of New
Licensed
Jersey?
in the state of New
You
Jersey.
testified before, before
Yes.
boards?
Yes, yes, sir. And newly licensed in Indiana, too, if anybody's got a house in Indiana.
It's a long way away.
Anyhow.
We'll accept his credentials.
Thank you.
Okay, so I guess the long story short here is that we're asking for variances regarding the side yards, the combined side yards, the rear yard, and floor area ratio. And in my experience, the hardship on this is the lot size existing is right around 16,000 square feet in a zone where 30,000 is required. So we're coming in already undersized. And unfortunately, the lot is oddly shaped and seems to be cut out of the larger property adjacent to it, to its right, and cut out of that corner and set up the side yards so they were existing non-conforming. So today, they're about 9 foot on one side and 9.6 on the other side. So that's our existing non-conforming side yard. And the reason we're increasing the non-conformity of the side yard is the owners would like to put a rear porch covered area to sit outside, out back, and eat and congregate outside. So adding a roof to the rear deck that was existing turns it into a principal structure, and we didn't have to take our side yard from the edge of the existing deck area, which increases the nonconformity of the side yard. Even though the structure exists there, by adding the roof, we now turned it into principal structure. So that's the main reason for the increase in the side yard problem. That leads me to the rear yard. We're asking for a variance in the rear yard, which is, we're increasing it by, so right here, yes. So required 75 foot rear yard. Existing is 69.81, which goes back to the main structure. Again, by adding a roof to the rear deck and creating a porch, that becomes a now principal part of the structure and increases our nonconformity to the rear yard now to 59 feet from 69. So that's our hardship there based on the rear yard just by adding a roof to that structure. The total side yards, obviously we're asking for the variance in total side yard. We won't meet that number because we're already existing non-conforming, and I'm increasing a non-conforming by about a foot in the total side yard problem. That brings us to the major reason for our variance would be the reconstruction of the house that's there was in pretty poor shape. So the owners wanted to add what we would call real bedrooms, even though 70 square feet constitutes a bedroom under code, which is kind of scary. But we put some nice-sized bedrooms in the house and brought it up to what we thought would be a comfortable home for their daughter and future family. And working off of that basis, it added a second floor to the existing structure. By adding that second floor, we're now jumping over the floor area ratio where 14% or 0.14 is the required area. We're jumping to about 0.2 or 20% floor area ratio. But the hardship that I spoke of in the beginning, where I say that we are an existing undersized lot, if we were a conforming lot at the 30,000 square feet, we wouldn't even be here for the FAR problem. We would be conforming in the neighborhood, it seems and appears. Now, I've only knocked on a couple of doors early on and didn't get any answers, but it appears like there are some structures adjacent to this house in that area that seem to meet those, the same scenarios. And I didn't do that, but I did notice that in the report from the engineers, they said there are some houses in the area that are in that category of square footage that we're asking for in there. And that's the reason for the variance that we're asking for, the variances that we're asking for. And I'll leave it to you guys.
Mr. Cambria?
Again, I defer. I mean,
Okay.
I
Let me go to our professionals. How's this? Ms. Swan?
Have you received the memo that was issued this morning?
Yes,
Can we just quickly go over the comments?
yes, I'm prepared for those.
I think planning-wise, you addressed, and most of the comments are really to help the board understand the land use patterns within the neighborhood and the homes in the neighborhood. So unless the board has any questions, you could skip that part. The one thing that I would say is there are a lot of inconsistencies in the setback between the table and the actual plans. So when you submit plans for compliance, typically when it's a D4, we don't ask for compliance plans. But in this case, there are quite a few engineering comments that need to be addressed too. So I recommend that you submit plans that address any of the engineering comments so that we can review it, and then we'll have a final site plan signed by the engineer, the chairman, and the secretary. So I am expecting that all those inconsistencies be resolved. There was a question related to the heating because the math didn't work. Like, it showed that only 30 square feet has heating, so I think you need to fix that.
I saw that comment, and I was reviewing through our drawings. I didn't see it the same on the drawings I was handed this morning.
Right, I think it's in the text, as far as I remember. It's in the notes, so please make sure that it matches. Then going to the engineering comments, the turnaround bump out, so we would require that bump out area.
We agree to that. It's needed. You don't need to back out into that road.
Right, and either you have the basement, the second comment was either have the basement or raise the grade by 1 I think it's proposed grade on the side should meet this criteria, and I think 1 foot separation is required. So you would have to address that or eliminate the basement. So what do you?
So in doing our soil test, we found that we need to go down to about 4.5 feet
Okay.
for good bearing soil. The basement itself only has to go down about 5.5 feet, so it's about another foot delta there. So it seems like money well spent to put the basement in instead of having mechanicals in a crawl space. The applicant is an HVAC person in general and would much rather be able to change a filter standing up than crawling into the crawl space. It is more work, but it's money well spent, in my opinion, just for the use of the house. So the idea is to go for the basement, but I think we need to finalize a geotechnical survey, finding
Yes.
our mean high water line, or what we would call seasonal high water here, to actually make that call.
Sure, so you would have to work with the engineering office.
Correct,
too.
correct.
Then there is a question regarding connections of the roof leaders and the parameter drains, and you would address that, correct?
Yes, we would, so I'd want to do that with our site engineer for grading and drainage. My general practice is to put roof leaders into a French drain system. Depending on how that works in this area once we work with the geotech, I know that there is a note on the drawing that was missed, and we called out a sump pump in the basement. It's that note that was incorrect on the basement drawing should have been a sump pump, and I know you're supposed to pump those to the storm drain,
Correct.
which, thank you for that, by the way, because we're required back in West Creek to keep it all on the property, and it makes it a very difficult process. So we do plan to meet all of those requirements.
Sure. The engineer requires a percolation test.
Yes. Yes, without a doubt.
We already talked about the sump pump discharge location and connecting it to the stormwater, right? Finished first floor, basement floor elevation should be added. And then I think they want the call out to be revised for the retaining wall, which you would do. with
Right.
cement.
I'd like to say that the retaining walls and the driveways, we would like to review with a landscaper and the owners just for their idea of what they want to put there. I don't want to go on record stating that it's going to stay as wood ties or anything. I would
That's
like
fine.
to say.
So when you work with the owner and make changes, make sure you submit them as part of the compliance
Without a
review
doubt.
so that
Yes.
myself and the township engineer can review it. Again, the next one is also related to landscaping and a question whether the driveway will be paved.
So I think the intention is to pave the
The
driveway.
Okay. Yes, that's a good catch. So your minimum landscape area ratio right now is at 0.63. 0.65 is allowed. If you add a bump out, you might violate the landscape area ratio. I think you should ask for a variance now itself, so that you don't have to come back to the board.
That is a great idea.
So if you're adding a bump out 10 feet wide, can you calculate?
I would
10 by 20.
I would
right?
say I'd like to be at least by
200.
20 feet
10 by
to
20.
accommodate an SUV.
So on a 16,000 square foot lot. Point 6, 0.7. I think, no, this should be the. Yeah, so you should ask for a variance for 0.6 on the landscape area ratio that will cover the driveway bump out. And then we see that a door was added to the basement. Typically, we allow that with two-family homes. So I would recommend that there was a condition we wanted to add, right?
Yeah, so we noticed with the plan set that was submitted, there wasn't a floor plan of the basement. So I think part of maybe a resolution compliance submission, they submit a floor plan, just so,
Of the
For
basement.
the proposed new basement?
yes, yep.
Right.
And just maybe a condition that, won't be used as a separate living space for rent or other consideration, and no cooking facilities in the basement.
We would accept that as a condition.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's all on my end.
Mr. Holly, you have anything to add other than what you just did?
Not at this time, Chairman, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Clancy, it seems, it's not my case to prosecute, but it would seem that the architect is trying to testify as a planner as well. And I find that a little disturbing.
Yeah, so there are certain proofs that need to be put onto the record for the variances. Typically, we would need an expert that's been able to review the local zoning ordinances, the master plan for compliance, and be able to provide testimony as to whether or not there'll be any kind of, how it complies and differentiates from what's in the code and the master plan, and then also be able to deliver an opinion to the board specifically as to whether or not what's proposed will substantially impair the zoning plan or the master plan. So there's some additional proofs that would be required to be put onto the record. I think in order for you to put this to a successful vote, based on what I've heard so far, the chairman's astutely correct about that. So. Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes some sense. I'm just speaking with our township planner here, and she noted that some of the stuff we've gone through on the record already, it might make sense tonight. You've started and gotten some good information out there. We can always adjourn this to a future date.
Continuance, yeah.
Give you some time to work with the township on some of these compliance issues, and also maybe bring a planner in to be able to put the testimony on that would be required to get this up for a vote. I'm sure the board would be amenable to something like that.
I'm speaking for myself, but knowing the board, I don't think that they're comfortable at this moment with what you've put on the record as far as your testimony. I'm not arguing with any of your testimony, merely saying that there's a lot more that I think needs to be put on the record. And I'll talk to the vice chair. Would you agree?
I definitely agree. There's too many inconsistencies, and I feel a plan is necessary for a project.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, and, and this tells the tale, this aerial in the memo right here of the site of this home, and clearly you have it right. I'm sure they carved that out from a lot. It just doesn't fit in. I think that was all farming fields at one point going back. And I know you have hardships there to deal with, and the board has dealt with those before, and we'll deal with them now, knowing I visited the house and I see it's half cut open, and I know you're probably anxious to get moving forward, but in clear conscience, and I think legally, I don't think we have enough on the record to be able to come to a decision this evening. I think we're on the right start, and I think for the things that have been put on, but I know, coming from myself and the vice chair, you're getting two people that aren't comfortable with voting tonight. I don't think I need to even ask any more, so.
And obviously, the professionals that are here are more than willing to work with you guys to get you moving in the right direction. The planner was just talking to me about it as well. So I think that makes sense. Maybe if they just ask for an adjournment, we'll give them another date, and they can come back after they've worked with the planner and the engineer here to kind of address some of the concerns and maybe bring another professional on board to get this over the hump if they need to.
Yeah, I think a PP would be perfect to probably push it. I don't know that you need engineering, but you need to work with the engineering department to make sure that everything is to their liking as well as the benefit of the homeowner.
If
for
you reach out, if you reach out to Maureen, she should be able to help you out. And
I'm
I'll be
just gonna-
there, obviously, to assist.
For continuance, what would the next date be?
September 19th is our next open meeting.
Okay. September 19, it's, we're 2 a month, but only 1 in July, so I think 1 in August, right? We have 2
in
We
August.
have 2 in August? They're full? Okay. All right, that'll give you plenty enough time to bring everything back. Clearly, the board, you can see people taking notes, so they know what they're talking about, and what you've done hasn't been wasted, as a matter of fact, it's laid the foundation. So I would say, if you would accept that date, I don't know if that's good with you, Mr. Cambria?
That's fine, absolutely.
Okay, the date is again what?
September 19th?
September 19. Okay, so we'll continue December 19. He'll sign a continuance, I would guess.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for your appearance tonight. This matter will be continued September 19th, agenda. There'll be no further testimony tonight. Thank you, Mr. Cambria. Thank you. The homeowner, and,
We're going to continue with no further notice required.
yeah, there will be no further notice.
We're announcing it tonight.
All right? Okay, thank you. Just watch you have live mics, everyone. Okay, we'll move to the agenda here. We have 14-2024Z. Lisa Lynch, this is the low-density residential R20. This is a continuance as well. This is block 12261, lot 22. Physical locations 202 Morganville Road, Manawan, for a pole barn for acquiring C variance. Applicant proposing and constructing a 40 by 30 pole barn to store cars and motorcycles. Ms. Lynch. And, sir, what was your last name again?
Lynch,
Oh, you're Lynch, too?
Michael Lynch.
You were by yourself last time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, my kid had
Michael. I assume both of you are going to be testifying this evening. Ms. Lynch, you've previously testified, so you are still under oath.
Okay.
We'll put your husband under oath, and then he can testify as well, okay? Sir?
Just raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth? Okay, and just spell your first name?
Michael.
Got it. And last name was Lynch. We already got that on the record, I think. Thank you.
All right, where we left off, Ms. Lynch, as I recall, the board was a little,
Gonna let him, can I?
okay, well, I'll talk to both of you. The board was a little concerned with the size of the pole barn as it was presented for the need for an upper floor.
So we've changed all plans. There is no more second floor.
That's
It
what I
is
want you to
a-
put on the record. So
it
take your
is-
time. Okay.
It is a square building, 30 by 40, 16 and a half foot peak. That's the lowest you can go with that size building. And I don't know what else, I really, that's, I have too much, cars and lawn equipment, tractors.
Wife, I understand
I
it's a
need
small
to-
home that you have, and I know that the family's
It's growing.
growing in age, and they need to spread their wings a little bit.
And I have a 16-year-old he's going to be driving in 6-7 months full-time, and it's another car, and it's just never ending. It's just
Let me
keeps
go
going.
to, let me go to Mr. Hollihan. Mr. Hollihan, I know there was a new plan presented, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so the applicant has submitted a new revised plan, reducing the height pretty dramatically from the originally proposed garage. I believe the square footage remains the same as a 40 by 30. I think the height was brought down from about 25 feet to, like they said, about 16 and a half feet. They have added kind of a stone driveway off of the existing stone driveway, because one of the concerns that I had brought to the board during the first hearing was access to the garage. So it's kind of an existing, non-conforming with the existing stone driveway that kind of meanders a little bit off of their property. But I'm kind of satisfied with what they are presenting now. So as far as what variance relief they're requesting, would just be square footage of an accessory building where they're proposing 1,200 where 600 is permitted, as well as the height of an accessory building, which the maximum permitted is 15 feet. And they are proposing 16 feet and then 5 1/4 inches.
16 feet? 5 1/4?
Yes, sir. Yep.
You agree with Mr. Hollihan, what he's put on the record?
Yes, absolutely.
Questions of the applicant? On my left? Questions on my right?
Chairman, if I can just make one
Yes,
additional.
by all means.
I think the board may have had concerns at the first hearing of a possible kind of home-based business, mechanic shop, possibly being operated out of this garage. So I'm just asking if the applicant is maybe wanting to comment on that, maybe address those concerns, or?
Yeah, I'll comment. I work on heavy equipment. I work on my own cars and my kids' cars now. But I don't, there's no room in my yard for heavy equipment, so that's what I do for a living.
Okay, you have a workshop behind the home, to the rear of the property, right?
It is, it's like I guess they called it like an old horse barn is what it was. And I've, just changed it into my little garage. But it's
Okay. and you have-
packed.
All right, you have one other smaller utility shed
Yes,
towards the north side there?
yes. And one's coming down. One's rotting away, so I'm losing that space.
Anything else?
Uh,
So you're not, as a,
I can't do side business. I'm in a union. I've been in a union for 30 years. So for me to do side work, if I get caught
Was it-
doing side work,
yeah, as a
I'm
condition of the
out.
resolution, you would agree that this isn't going to be used for commercial use,
This is,
the building?
the building is for my cars, my,
Well,
So
storage,
what the chairman's asking you is, if the board is going to vote on this, one of the things they're asking of you is, would you agree, as a condition of them approving it, if they were to act favorably, you would agree to put on the record that there'll be no commercial
Correct.
activity
That
there?
is
You're
correct.
okay with that?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, while we're on it, I'll just mention, previously when we had been there had been agreements provided through testimony that this area would not be used as living space, and that there would be no plumbing to the building.
That is correct.
Okay? All right.
just electric, I would assume you're going to have for lighting.
Ultimately, I'd imagine some electric, because the way I understand it, they sell car lifts that you could put a car on, lift them up, and put store cars underneath, so.
Right.
I have a couple classic cars, so
Okay.
that would be it.
Let me see if there's any other questions from the board, okay? On my left? None? I think we covered, I think we covered what we were concerned with in the last time. Anything on the right? No? Mr. Hollihan, anything else other than what we've put on the record here?
No, Chairman.
All right, let me go to public portion on this. This is 14-2024Z, the location is 202 Morganville Road for a pole barn. Is anyone here in the audience this evening has comments or questions? Please raise your hand or stand. No one has. I'm going to close the public portion. Final comments, sir? Final comments? Any? None?
No.
No, thank you.
Nothing to say tonight?
No.
Okay, this is a C variance for the square footage. This is the building at 1,200 square foot where 600 is allowed, and for height, it's at 16.5 1/4?
That's correct, yes.
16 and a half, maybe?
16 and a half, just about, and where 15 is allowed. Board members, someone want to move for the C variance vote?
Izzo?
Testaverde, move it.
Is there a second?
Izzo?
Mr. Rizzo seconds, Ms. Testaverde made the motion.
First.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, there'll be a resolution prepared for by the next meeting. After you get the resolution, you deal with the building department or any applications, permits, at which time you can start that building.
All right,
Right?
thank you.
Has to be done within 1 year. That'll also be part of the resolution. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you for appearing.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, moving forward, 75-2023Z, I'm sorry, that one's been adjourned. 75-2023Z was 243 Throckmorton Lane, that was involving a driveway expansion. The application has been adjourned to the public, for a public hearing on July 18th, with further notice. If you're here on that matter, it's not going to be heard tonight. Baker has been taken care of. We move right down to 10-2024Z Burim Arapi. This is low, medium-density residential. It's R20 zone, block 6401, lot 21. 3 Karen Court in Old Bridge for a sunroom. The applicant proposes to legitimize a 16 by 16 sunroom that was previously constructed without permits. The sunroom was constructed 18.25 feet from the rear property line, where 25 is required. For the record, sir?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. My name is Gregory J. Waga, architect. I'll be representing Mr. Burim Arapi, the applicant, on this matter.
Just spell your last name, sir.
Sure, W-A-G-A.
Who's representing? Is he going to be sworn?
Yeah, you're going to be providing testimony, correct? I
Yes,
assume?
sir.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. We already have your name for the record. Thank you. And any credentials you may
Yes,
place on the record?
my office is located in Rahway. I've been in practice for just under 30 years. We're licensed in good standing in this state and in 8 other states. And I've testified, I've had the privilege of testifying here about a dozen or so years ago, and I've been all over the state in other applications.
Well, thank you. We'll accept your credentials.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Professional engineer?
No, architect.
Professional architect.
Yes.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You can proceed.
Thank you. So the drawings that are in front of you are what is apparent. I have no new exhibits this evening. And what we're here for, during the virus, which, shut the state down back in March, the applicant bought the property and closed on it during that time. And at that point, we know that there were no COs or code enforcement inspections at all. They bought the house as is. It existed, and I've worked diligently with previously Damian Gill, and I think Dan and I spoke at least once or twice on this over the course of the past year. And we had a pre-existing cluster development located in an R5 zone. Lot size is 5,500 square feet, where 5,000 is required. However, many of these homes were constructed as is, but that back left area that's highlighted on your site sheet of this presentation was an open porch. When the applicant purchased this property, they bought it with a finished room. So the room was finished. Evidently, there were no permits taken out. I'll give the board the courtesy of a little history on this. The applicant was initially cited for various CO issues regarding the inspection process. About 9 months in, it was brought to our attention that this section of the home was substandard in its side and rear yard because of the enclosure. Again, it was an open porch. I'm presuming that back when this cluster was approved, those porches were permitted at 20 feet from the rear yard. And again, openness was a minimum of 2 feet or so. As we're well aware, now that we've enclosed it, it now becomes part of the conditioned space of the home, becomes part of the primary aspect of the use of the home. It is used as a dining area right now. It's set up, but it's not being used. Actually, I was just in their home. The doors have been blocked up. They've not utilized that space since the code enforcement, Phil Stanford, who I worked with as well, had asked them and told them not to be able to use that space. So they've complied. However, that's what we're here for. We've got 2 variances. We've got a rear yard where we need to be 25, we're 20.83. And where we need to be 5, we are 1.8. I'm sorry, let me get my eyes on and stand here. I'll be able to talk loud
You're going to have to
enough, or
take
I
that
can-
with
I
you.
can take this
Yeah.
with me?
Yeah.
Perfect. So where we need to be on our,
He's got a better one for you.
oh, thanks. Watch the
Bottom of that one.
where we need to be actually 9 feet on the left side yard, we're 1.88 and 1.9 feet respectively. And again, where we need to be 25 feet on the rear yard, we are 20.63, so strike what I said earlier, 20.83. And that's basically the history. We comply with every other aspect of, if not exceed, every other aspect of the bulk requirements. And we've responded on numerous occasions. I'll just put up another board, which is labeled sheet AB1, which is as-built 1, which just reflects the conditions of what was existing. And the reason it was brought to our attention, because it was brought to the applicant's attention that a number of the support mechanisms were not installed properly at the underside of the primary structure. So our job was to repair those items and make the site structurally non-compromised and the integrity reestablished. So that's what we've done. And then that's what we were so proactive in. And about August of last year, it was brought to our attention that this became a board matter. And here we are today. So we're looking and hoping to gain use. We did not increase the original footprint whatsoever. The applicant had nothing to do with it. Again, they purchased the property that way 4 years ago, and they're looking now to be able to gain approval so that we can continue the process with the Department of Buildings and move forward and acquire a permit. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Holland?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so the applicant here is here tonight seeking two variances, one for side yard of 1.90 feet where 9 feet minimum is required, and then a rear yard of 20.63 where 25 feet is required. I do want to note that I'm not confident that the applicant requires that side yard deficiency because we have an ordinance in place that if the side yard deficiency is 7.5 feet or less, you can continue that existing kind of building line. And as long as he's not exacerbating that side yard, he typically doesn't require a variance for that side yard where he's allowed to continue it at that 1.90 feet. Maybe Mr. Clancy can correct me if I'm wrong, but at least that's my understanding of that section of the ordinance. That's typically how we've done it historically in our office. But if maybe it makes more sense to maybe ask for that variance just in case.
I would think err on the side of caution.
Absolutely.
That was the justification.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's I had more communication with Damien.
Yep.
Prior to, and that was his directive. It was a just in case.
And you'd be asking for it anyway.
Correct.
Anything you want to continue with, Mr. Holland?
That is it, Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, and the testimony you've heard is accurate?
Yes.
Just give me the numbers again, so it's the rear yard?
Yes, so the rear yard request is 20.63 feet, where 25 feet of the rear yard is required. And then side yard request of 1.90 feet, where 9 feet minimum is required.
Okay. Let me see if the board has any questions, sir.
Thank you.
To my left.
No.
Everybody good? To my right, ladies? Mr. Clancy?
The only thing I'd add to that is, obviously, in order to bring this into compliance, you would effectively have to tear down this sunroom that was on the house when you bought it, correct?
No. We've done a thorough investigation, and we've actually submitted new drawings to the building department that will satisfy all our obligations. The client has been made aware. I've walked them through what they need to do with their footings and foundations. They'll also need to apply, for those of you who are not familiar with our beam and joist hangers, which need to be installed, post bases, post caps, everything structurally that will establish the necessary integrity for this room to be considered habitable.
I think what Mr. Clancy was saying is they're probably looking at this variance under a hardship relief.
By all means.
Thank you.
Yes, it was an unknowing situation when they purchased. And it was brought to their attention about a year and a half after.
And I didn't mean to interrupt, but go ahead.
No,
Mr.
not at
Costa.
all. You know me well.
I misinterpreted you, Mr.
Not at all.
Well, there's only two ways to get it, and hardship,
Right.
hardship is
Sure.
it sounds like what you have.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
That's kind of what I'm trying to flesh out here. So, as I say, in order to, if you didn't have a variance and you had to bring the property into compliance, the only way to do that would be to rip off this sunroom that was there when you bought the house.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
And start from scratch.
And that's got. Is there some footings that are associated?
There are
with that
footings,
as well?
yeah. It's a crawl space. It's not a true masonry foundation. You've got 4x4 posts. You've got well-treated wood. You've got concrete footings, pier footings. Some of them we've tested need to be reinforced or installed at the proper depth because they don't satisfy. All that has been indicated on the drawings that were submitted to building department, and we've been back and forth. And again, the project shut down after it was brought to our realization that there may be a zoning issue.
Okay, so it sounds like it would be a hardship in order to, you'd have to rip this thing down and rip up footings and everything else.
Yeah.
If you didn't have a
Be a
variance.
great expense, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And as a condition of approval, we usually include this, but I just want to, since you have something already in the works here, you obviously apply for and obtain whatever permits and inspections need to be done. and
Yes, sir.
Submit whatever plans would be required in order to accomplish that.
Yes, and actually, the building department has been out there, the electrical inspector, the fire subcode, the building subcode. They've been out there already to review. And again, that's where their comments came back, and I was retained, and here we are today.
Excellent, okay.
Thank you.
So, board members, they're going to be seeking a hardship. So does anybody have any further questions before I go to public portion? No? Okay. 10-2024Z, the location is 3 Karen Court, Old Bridge. This is a legitimizing a sunroom that was previously constructed without permit, not by this applicant. Anyone here in the courtroom want to be heard on this matter? Raise your hand or stand, please. Come on up. No. You have to come forward and speak on a microphone, and the board attorney will swear you in before you speak. That's okay. Maybe we could just adjust that height for her as well.
I just want
Hold
to.
on, ma'am.
Okay.
There's just some procedures we have to follow, okay? We're going to ask you to state your name.
Asuncion Correa.
We need you to spell that.
Asuncion. Last name is Correa, Correa.
The board attorney will put you under oath.
Can you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down and just speak directly into that microphone so that everybody can hear you.
Well, I received a letter from my neighbor that I can attend the
Yes.
thing. So my house is in the corner. This is Karen Court.
Yes?
This is Avery Drive. So my house is behind his house, the right side. If you face that way, that's the left side of his house.
Your lots abut? They touch?
Yes.
Okay.
So
To the rear?
Yes. So my rear of my house is the left side of his house facing his house.
Okay.
So I wasn't clear what is 1.9 and 2. What is that? Is that my side?
Well, there's regulations. They're not changing the structure of anything. What they're trying to do is legitimize it. There's issues called setbacks. Setbacks mean from property line to structure. And the ordinance requires a certain amount. In this case, when someone put this sunroom on, made an addition, maybe a previous owner, I guess, you would know that. No, I was speaking of her. They're 1.9 feet, so that's that much.
Yeah, I measured it
So
today.
it doesn't mean going closer to your line, it means they need relief for that much.
Yes, it's actually 2 point. I measured it today from that plastic, the liner. It's like when you landscape.
Yes?
That holds. So the previous owner had put up like stones, gravels, and lined that. So I measured it from the gate. There's a gate next, going to the back door, to that structure that they're going to use.
Yes.
I actually measured it as 2 feet. And
Well, 1.9 is pretty close to 2.
yeah, it's almost there,
Yeah.
but it's 2.2 feet and 9.5 inches.
I think they're doing it off a survey, which is probably a lot more accurate. I mean,
No, because I just measured it for my own
Yeah.
curiosity today, because I feel like the sides of the homes in that cul-de-sac, the left side is like that, it's like universal in that development. So I feel like I bought the house in 1992. I was still young. I wasn't aware of anything. I came, I landscaped it all the time. If you see my house, the curb appeal, I add the curb appeal to the neighborhood. So I just want to make sure that I'm not taking away his property, nor, because I want to make sure that I'm not invading.
no,
or-
I don't think there's been any comment
Okay,
to
so
that.
there's no, I just want to make sure that that is not being appealed as they are going
No.
to increase the width.
No one
of
has
the
said
site.
that, and
No,
it's-
that's why I
it's very
came-
nice of you to come forward and say that, but the architect
Yes.
deals in the survey and the numbers, so.
Right, I just want to make sure to make myself comfortable, because we want to make sure we mow the lawn, and
Okay.
we don't want to invade somebody's property. We don't want to take somebody's.
Does your client have any complaint about the neighbor?
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure so
For
I
the
can
record, he's
continue
he's
mowing
not,
the
no,
lawn
he's not
that
under
way.
oath, but,
Okay.
Mr. Hollihan, was there any complaint that you know of?
Right.
this?
Not that I'm aware of, Chairman, no.
So I have another thing, though. I don't know if Bruno, we call him Bruno. So when the rain falls, one day I was like bothered because there's like noise. So I don't know if that is affecting the structure of the house. You know, lately there are a lot of heavy rainfall. So I heard the rainfall, and actually the rain, it's not coming, it doesn't go into the gutter, it falls off to the, it's making a lot of noise, and there's a ponding of water there all the time. I don't know if you know that. The water is always staying there. Today is the last day I cleaned my yard because I cannot go there because it's always wet. It was so slippery, I don't want to fall. So I just want to make sure that the structuring of the sewer, how do you call that, the flow of the water back to the woods. Because I'm the back house, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like stuck over
Let me
there.
ask Mr. Hollihan, he's got a plan in front of him.
Yes.
Does,
There's actually no outlet to the next thing because the house behind
All right,
is
hold
like
on one
close to
second.
each other.
Additions to residential uses in family homes don't require any grading plans or engineering review. So I don't know if it's necessarily a comment to make at this part. It may be better for you, if you have a drainage complaint to make, to maybe send an email to the engineering department to where they can maybe investigate and maybe give you advice on maybe how to alleviate any concerns that you might have.
No, it's just I wanted to make sure this is included in the restructuring of the backyard structure because it affects the house extension is affecting the flow of the water when it rains. You know what I'm saying?
is it lacking a gutter, is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if the gutter is blocked or what, but there's like really like pouring out of stormy water, like
Water
I
coming
don't know
off
if
the
you
roof
heard
or
it.
ponding on the ground?
on the ground. Yeah, I heard it from my because
On
I
your yard or his yard?
towards my yard because the water is pouring out into my yard. So I wanted to know to make sure that the new structure is not affecting the flow of the water. That's if they
There
are
is not-
restructuring this
There is not going
house-
to be any new structure.
Oh, they're not going to because it's the.
We're not building anything, correct, sir?
Oh, okay.
It's already there.
It's already there.
Oh, I see. I thought they're going to rebuild this because you're
No, it's
tearing
already
it
there.
down, yeah.
There's no build.
Because the house, the roof of that extension is like flat. It's not like this. So like, and his house is like the whole part of the house that's like going up is coming to my yard. I'm not sure. It was in the middle of the night. I said, what is wrong? And then I went, it's like pouring. Instead of the water going out to the gutters, it's like pouring out to the yard.
Perhaps the applicant can check his gutters and see if they need to be cleaned.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, because it's really like, the water is not flowing because
Right.
the previous owner had made the gutter to go into the ground. That's why they covered that with gravels. I have been with, I think they're the third owners. From the time I moved there, I never moved. So I know the thing, but I just want to make sure that they are paying attention to that,
well,
like when they're restructuring the
We're
house.
certainly going to advise the applicant to.
I don't want him
to do that.
to
I-
have a problem too with
I
his
know.
own.
You sound like you want to be a good neighbor. I'm sure that the applicant
Am
wants
I
to be a good
not
neighbor.
all the time?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to be heard in this matter? I'll close the public portion. I would seek that perhaps the applicant be advised to maybe check that to avoid any future problems.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we were talking, discussing this during the testimony from the neighbor, and he's changing the roof. It's actually a shed roof that happens to slope towards that, so there's the potential that the leader could be clogged at the base if everything is, below grade. So during the excavation, we can even make it a condition that, and he's already agreed to, once he's finished the excavation, he'll replace the gravel that's there, reinforce it, and then just clean out the drains. And the gutters might be dirty, they might be clogged, and that might cause the overflow. The rains have been torrential at times, so that might create the overflow. And once you got that, you got a wave of water coming down 12 feet, and there's your noise.
I agree. One more, ma'am. But you have to speak into the microphone.
I don't know if this is a concern for zoning, because he added an air conditioner in the wall right above that 1.9. It's on the wall, and it's my back of my house. and you-
It's not a zoning issue that I
Oh,
can
okay.
tell.
Because it's my dining room. Every time I look out of that window, it's my dining
It's a
room.
wall unit that,
The wall unit, it's like a big square. It's not the regular one. So I told him that this is my dining room. If I have guests, it doesn't look, I'm not really happy that it's there.
well, I understand that, but the board
That's
has,
nothing to
we don't
do-
have any
okay.
jurisdiction over those matters.
Okay, thank you.
I don't want to make light of it, but no, there's nothing we can do on that. Okay. Now I've closed the public portion.
I just have one point of clarification. It looks like there's two, on the rear setback, there's two kind of call-out lines there, because I guess it's not square with the rear.
Are you talking about
property
the
line.
18.25?
Yeah, that should be
That's-
that should be our variance, probably, right? That's the shortest point.
Well, I think that's to the stairs, correct?
Correct, that's the stair, it's an open stair with a rail.
Okay, so it's not part of the
It's
structure.
not part of the structure, it's not
All right.
conditioned space, but we've come to always represent those numbers just in case.
Right, so we're at 20.6, basically.
To the heated structure, yes, or
Okay.
conditioned structure.
I just wanted to clarify
Yes,
that.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Board, any final comments or questions of the testimony? None? Final comments, sir?
Thank you. We are here again to ratify and satisfy any obligations that were, inappropriately processed through this municipality a number of years back. And we'd like to just get on with the process and hope to gain this board's approval this evening.
Understood. Thank you for your representation this evening. Mr. Clancy, we have two C variances, correct? We can take them together?
Yeah, they're both, looks like both C1 for the rear setback and the side setback, with the conditions that they're going to obtain permits and submit plans for any work that's going to be done there. And it sounds like they're going to replace the gravel and clean the downpipes on the structure.
Right, so it's, we have 20.6 where 25 required, and we have 1.9 where 9 is required, correct?
That's what I have, yes.
Okay. Work to be done within 1 year. Anyone interested in moving the C variance? We'll move them together.
Izzo.
Mr. Izzo?
Mr. Izzo, move it.
Is there a second? Ms. Andrews, seconds? Roll call, please. As to C.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, and I would hope the applicant clears up that matter with runoff if it's ponding
Yes, sir.
next to the
We're-
property line.
we brought it
It's
to
not
their
part of the
attention.
application, but it is.
Correct. No, it's a matter of courtesy.
That's what I was hoping for.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your
All right, thank
presentation.
you.
You'll have
Pleasure.
you'll have a resolution by our next meeting.
Perfect.
All right?
Thanks
Thank
very
you
much.
for appearance.
Pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
And again, just to build on Mr. Cambria's comments dealing with the planning and the zoning department, prime. Thank you.
We
Maureen,
try,
Elizabeth.
we try, and we've heard compliments before, and I'm glad that we have the personnel here in
I
the
know-
township that we
I
do.
know salaries
I'm just a
are set.
resident, obviously, you know, we're all
Correct.
volunteers.
Correct.
So,
Salaries are set, but there are bonuses, you know.
yes, sir, you're right, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, everybody.
Back to Elmora, right? Back to Elmora.
Back to Elmora.
Right.
In our minds.
Yes. We're volunteers, that's right. We'll give you double what you normally get.
That's right.
All right, we have one more. We have 17-2024Z. That's Jonathan Plains. I'm sorry, where do I see that? Where am I
Another
missing?
page?
Am I missing a page? Oh, yeah, I am. There we go. Bottom of the page would be good. 17-2024Z, Jonathan Plains. This is medium-high density residential R6, block 5000.29, lot 40, 40 Yale Road for detached garage requiring a C variance. Applicant proposes to construct an 18 by 20 detached garage, 3 foot from the side property line, where 10 minimum is required. Sir? Who are?
Jonathan Planas?
Anyone else going to be testifying on your behalf this evening?
No, just myself.
Just yourself? Board attorney will swear you in.
Do you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear any testimony you'll provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth? Okay, thank you. You can have a seat.
You've sat and watched a few of them tonight, so basically what we want you to do is tell us what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it. This shed is not up at this point, right?
No.
Okay. And then the board may have some questions. Mr. Holohan will tell us what's going on.
Okay.
And we'll go back and forth.
Just to correct, you said 40 Yale Road, it's 4.
Do I have 40? I'm sorry.
Yeah, lot 40.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
4 Yale Road is the
Yes,
physical
yes,
location.
yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
that was
thought I
your
heard-
blocking lot.
Okay, sorry. So I just want to build an 18 by 24 shed to clean up my carport, so that way when the neighbors are in their yard, they don't see, I guess, an organized mess from their deck. I want to be more of a pleasant neighbor. I have two kids. They have a lot of toys. We have a lot of motorsports, and we don't want it outside per se. So the carport's the only place right now. We do have a pre-existing shed, and it's kind of at max capacity with all the stuff in it. So we really can't put too much in it anymore, so everything kind of just pulls up into the carport and in the backyard.
Okay. You have an actual carport, or did you use was your carport built up like most of the houses were there?
It's just an overhang, so it's an open carport.
Okay, yours is still there. Okay.
Yes.
All right. And you're going to put this shed,
It's what's gonna go by there's a pre-existing shed now, so it's gonna go in place of that.
why so close to the property line?
I just figured, well, because if I do 10, 10, 10, it's gonna be in the middle of my yard, and the reason why we bought the house was to have the yard for the kids, so they can have fun. And I figured the existing shed now is closer to the yard to the property line than the new one's gonna be.
So that's not compliant either.
I guess not. We bought the house like that.
No, I get
so-
it.
So I figured.
Let me ask Mr. Holohan, and then we'll come back to you,
Okay.
okay?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, so the applicant is requesting a single C variance for a 18 by 20. It was noted as a detached garage. It's going to be used as a shed, correct?
It's a shed, yes.
Okay. Yeah, so he's seeking a single C variance for the side yard setback of 3 feet, where 10 feet minimum is required. In the R6 zone, when a structure exceeds 150 square feet, that setback, as the board I think is aware, increases from 3 feet to 10 feet. So due to the size of the structure, he's required a 10-foot setback where 3 feet. This says 3 feet, you're proposing 3.5 feet. Has that since changed?
Yes.
3.5?
Yes.
Okay, so the proposal is 3.5 feet where 10 feet is required.
If that were to be moved out to the 10-foot, 10 by 10, coming off the property line, would that really diminish the usage of his backyard? I mean, right now, it's not built, it's not,
It would essentially put the right wall of the shed in the middle of the yard, per se. It would pretty much line up with the right edge of that staircase that you see off the back of the house. Depending on which, I kind of drew 24 feet out to the right. If he goes 18 out, maybe the left edge of the staircase. But essentially, it would put it in the middle of the backyard, yes.
anything else you want to tell us, sir?
No.
How long you been there?
Going on 7 years this year?
Questions on my left of the applicant? No. Questions on my right?
I do, I have one.
Oh, go ahead, I'm
You're
sorry.
going to remove the old shed and just put the new shed up?
Correct.
Good?
Yeah.
Okay. Old one's going, new one's coming in.
Yes.
Anybody on my right?
No, I just was,
I just note for the record, it looks like you would agree that the lot's wider at the front and a little more narrow at the back.
Yes.
Okay, so
It's an unusually shaped lot, right?
yeah, it's and it also doesn't have like a straight rear property line there. It's kind of slanted, right?
Yes.
So it's a little bit of an oddly shaped lot, and that's a little more unique than what you're used to seeing. Typically, lots are square, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Trapezoidal?
Yeah, something like that.
One of those.
weird.
Yeah, it's unusual.
Okay.
So
we-
it creates
so we
more of
have
a problem for you.
We have some hardship, it looks like, and compliance would effectively put this thing into the middle of your rear yard, which obviously isn't desirable, correct? That's what it would kind of take to be compliant. And the variance that's required, it would ordinarily be 3 feet, except for the size of it, and you've already, it sounds like, placed on the record that you need that size because you need that level of storage, or you'd be
Yes.
requesting it because you need that level of storage,
Yes.
right? Okay, I think that's where we're at with
Well,
it.
it's admirable. You want to clean up your yard for your neighbors. I think that's,
Yeah, I don't want to be that guy.
you don't want to be that guy. Okay. I'm going to go to a public portion, okay?
Okay.
This matter is the location, physical location's 4 Yale Road. It's for a 18 by 20 shed for the rear yard. Anyone want to be heard on this matter? Please stand or raise your hand. No one has. I'll close the public portion. Final comments from you, sir?
No, okay, thank you.
Okay. Board members, this would be a C variance for 3 foot, or 3.5, right? We're going 3.5? 3.5
Yes.
side, from the side yard line, where a tenant is required. Sounds like a hardship case due to the size of the lot and the unusual structure, the unusual shape. Someone interested in moving this for approval?
Izzo?
Is there a second?
Testaverde.
Moved in second, roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde? Yes. Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, you'll have a resolution at the next meeting. It has been approved. It's very admirable, and we rarely hear where someone comes in and says they're more worried about their neighbors than they are about themselves. So kudos to you for cleaning up your backyard.
Thank you.
All right? Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
Good night. Now, as I turn the page, there's two more. Okay. 18-2024Z, Taryn Poplik. I hope I'm saying that right. It's medium-high-density residential R6, Block 15509, Lot 716, physical location 3 Piedmont in Old Bridge. This is for a fence. Applicant proposes 6-foot-tall vinyl fence in the front yard where a maximum 4-foot-tall open fence is permitted, requiring a C variance. Ms. Poplik, did I say that right?
Yes.
Are you going to be the only one to testify?
Yes.
Board attorney will swear you in.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear any testimony you provide before the board will be the truth and the whole truth? I do. Okay. And then when you speak, just, those microphones are very directional, so we just, we're making a
Perfect.
record, so we just want to make sure it gets picked up. Thanks.
Once again, as you saw, we want you to tell us your story.
Just looking to put up a 6-foot vinyl privacy fence. It's my understanding, I think it's just the right side of my yard that's the issue. I'm on a cul-de-sac there. My entire backyard is open to the street. My side door, my sliding glass door goes right out to the street. I have 3 little kids. You can't even let them out in the yard because it goes right out into the street. It looks right into, I do have pictures of it, but the whole street looks right into I have a sliding door there on that back portion there, and it opens right out to the street.
One of the problems when you're on a corner lot, it has what's called 2 front yards.
Right. And there was a fence there when I purchased the home, and it was in poor condition, and we
That's a
had them take it
technical term,
down.
yes. But, so that's probably why you're here, but we're going to find out from the professional.
Yeah.
Mr. Hollihan.
So Chairman, just to correct you, it's by definition, me and Taryn went over this quite extensively. It's not definitionally a corner lot. If it was, we wouldn't be here. But a corner lot, by our definitions, defined as a lot that's on 2 intersecting streets, being the Piedmont continues through that kind of little bump out cul-de-sac. It's technically just all front yard there. So if it was a corner lot, our ordinance now says that you can put a fence on where the house doesn't face. So if that right side kind of cul-de-sac was Jones Avenue, we wouldn't be here and she'd be permitted to have the fence under ordinance. So yes, she's here seeking just the variance for the fence in the front yard. She's proposing a 6-foot vinyl where only a 4-foot open fence is permitted. I do want to add that I believe she purchased a house relatively recently. There was an existing kind of 5-foot-ish chain link that was solid fence that was removed, I think, by a contractor who's doing renovations. Although it had no permit, it existed for quite some time, which there were conversations of possibly determining it a pre-existing nonconformity, but because that fence was removed, kind of being able to afford her that right goes away once that structure is removed. So that brings us to tonight.
When I looked at this survey, it looks like it's on the other lot line, beyond her lot line in the back, on the upper part.
So the neighbors, that is their fence actually on the top.
It's not yours?
No, that's not my fence. I don't have any fence right now. That's that fence that was there was taken down. That's why we're here. It was there. So that's their fence. We're just continuing on our side. Their flower actually goes on our property line. They have flowers, so it's actually going to be inside of our property line. I don't think they can have, that doesn't bother me at all. So it's actually going to be inside of our property line on the top there.
The fence on the top is the neighbor's.
Correct.
And there are some sections that come onto your property.
Yes.
Okay. But you're not here for that issue. You
No, not at all.
The other person's issue.
Right.
Okay. You say the privacy is the issue. You're open, basically, to the public.
Completely open to the street, and my sliding glass door, everybody sees right in it, not my sliding door.
Let me see if the board has any questions, okay? To my left.
The fence you have, not your fence, the neighbor's fence, how high is that fence?
Oh, I think it's 6 feet. They have an in-ground pool on the other side, so it's high.
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure, though.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Stoner?
Yeah, I have a question. So you said the neighbor's fence is on your property, right?
No, I don't think it's on our property. It extends to, that blue line on the top there is where there's no fence there, but the fence going up is theirs. It's just on their side, but they have this flower bed there where that blue line is. They have this flower bed on the edge of their driveway that actually comes onto our property. So the fence would be even inside of that because we're not going to touch their flowers. So it would
you're
actually
going
be
to bring
inside.
your fence inside, and the fence is more on the outside, right?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
So I'm trying to understand where you're not going to extend where the fence ends and continue.
It's kind of going to go, it's going to end, we're not double fencing, is that what you're asking? Yeah, we're not double fencing. No, I'm not going to go all the way to the top corner there. It's going to stop at their, I don't have any pets or anything. So it's just this, it'll stop at their fence. I don't know if I don't think I'm not quite honestly sure.
No, I mean, are you connecting, like, let's say the fence ends here. This is their fence. Are you going to connect it to continue it?
No.
No. I don't think so.
There's apparently at the top where the blue highlighter is, comes across, you said there's a garden bed there or something.
Yeah, they have like on the edge of that fence, their driveway continues there, and they have a flower bed in between their driveway and my backyard.
And then there's a fence after that, their fence.
Correct.
She's not going to connect it there's no reason, she just wants the privacy, not
Right.
necessarily the security for, pets.
Yeah, it'll all be on our property.
Anything else, Mr. Stoner? Mr. Scogno, anything? No, thank you. Vice Chair, nothing. Ladies? Mr. Clancy?
No, what I would just say is, the lot is obviously uniquely shaped, correct?
Yes.
In so much as that the road wraps around it.
Right.
And I believe it's already been placed on the record that had you had a true intersection there, we wouldn't even be having this discussion, correct?
Correct.
All right, so its uniqueness, it falls under hardship, is my opinion on that.
Okay, board members, you've heard that it would be a hardship on this matter. We've dealt with these many times before. Certainly, the applicant's family is entitled to their privacy. I see no reason why we shouldn't. I would be in favor of it, and we'll see if someone moves it, okay?
Thank you.
Did I go to a public portion here?
No.
I better, because there's a lot of people here. The physical location of 3 Piedmont Drive, 18-2024Z for a fence. Anyone here in the courtroom wish to be heard on this matter? Please raise your hand or stand. None of those men are interested in complaining to you. So, thank you. We'll close the public portion. Finally, board members, someone interested in moving this for a second?
Move it, Scargo.
Is there a second?
Izzo?
Izzo seconds. Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, you'll have a resolution by the next meeting. Work has to be done within 1 year.
Thank you.
Thank you for appearing. Let me guess. You're all here for the next application, right? Okay. 13-2024Z, this is, I hope I say it right. Karandeep Singh, I hope I said it right. Medium-high density residential R9, block 26001, lot 2112. Physical locations 49 Shirley Boulevard in Old Bridge. This is for a shed. The applicant proposes an 11 by 18 shed, 3 foot from the property line, where 10 minimum is required, requiring a C variance. Mr. Singh?
I'm Karandeep Singh.
Okay.
He's my dad.
Okay, are both of you going to be testifying?
Yeah.
Possibly?
No, only me.
Only you?
Yeah.
We could swear your father in too. It's okay. If he wants to talk that way, he'll be on the
You
record.
don't speak English.
Then we're not going to swear him in. Okay, board attorney will swear you in.
Just raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear that any testimony you provide before this board will be the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Okay, you can put your hand down, and I believe you've already placed your name on the record, Mr. Singh, so we're good to go.
Yeah. You sat here all night, so you know how it goes. Tell us the story, okay? And what you're doing, why, and we're going to ask the professional why why you need a variance.
So I'm gonna speak to behalf of my dad. So today we are here in front of you to seek a variance to build a 198 square feet shed. However, 150 square feet shed is permitted by ordinance. We acquire 198 square feet shed for landscaping and gardening tools for our home use, whereas 10 feet setback is required. We are proposing 3 feet setback. If we follow 10 feet setback, we will not be able to enjoy our backyard. It will take away the space, so I humbly request the board to permit this approval. We have a 6 feet fence all around our yard and enough room to maintain the lawn and shed.
Very good. This is very similar to the application that you heard just before, where the man was putting a 3 foot, because of an unusual shaped lot. This is a survey here, right?
Existing shed, is that correct?
Well, we'll talk about that. Let's see from Mr. Holohan.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Yes, so the applicant's here tonight seeking a C variance for the side yard setback for a 11 by 18 shed. They're seeking 3 feet from the side yard property line where 10 feet minimum is required. No other variances are being sought as part of this application. And that's about all I got.
Okay, is there a secondary shed there as well?
Yeah, there's the existing shed.
And that one, I guess, is probably 3 foot off.
Yeah, that one I believe is an 8 by 8.
8 by 8. Yep.
Yeah, so that one's an 8 by 8 at 3 feet from the property line, so that one is compliant.
You can do it.
Yep.
So that's it. Would it disrupt the yard if he moved it, he couldn't even move it over that far, right? It'd be
You have to move
next
it.
to the house if he moved it to 10 foot?
Yeah, I think the main argument of their application is to kind of preserve that rear yard space to where, you know, they have enough side room or enough side yard to where they can maintain the 3-foot setback to the dwelling as far as, you know, a 3 foot from the property line. If they moved it to the rear yard and then made it compliant 10 feet from each, you know, rear yard and side yard, that would drastically change kind of the layout of their rear yard and restrict them from using it recreationally.
Thank you. Is the yard fenced?
Yeah.
It is, it
Yep.
already is fenced?
Yeah.
Let me go to questions from the board. To my left?
Oh, good. Good.
To my right?
Wait, I have a question.
Go ahead.
What about this gazebo area?
Yeah, there's gazebo too.
The shed, can you remove the gazebo?
No, it
Is that
was
there?
already when we bought the house. It was there already.
Concrete?
No, it's not concrete. It's a wood.
It's a
Wood?
gazebo?
Wood. Yep.
All right.
Mr. Clancy?
Are you planning on keeping the other shed? The
Yeah.
existing one?
Yes.
And I think we've kind of already covered what if you wanted to construct this and bring it into compliance, obviously you couldn't come 10 foot across where you're at because it would be into your house there, it looks like, right? Right, it wouldn't fit there at 10 feet, is that correct?
Yeah. It's
See how it's like right
yeah,
next to the
it's-
house?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
All right. So in order to kind of, if you wanted to do that, you have to push it back on that map
And then go like
Still
middle
com-
of the yard. Yep.
still comply with that rear setback. So, yeah, I think you would say this would be a hardship to comply
Yes.
with that.
What do you use the smaller shed for?
Just for the storage, like a gardening tools.
And the new one's going to be for the same purpose?
Yeah, same purpose.
So it's not, what's it, 200 square foot? 11,
No,
yeah, 198.
It'll come out to
190.
266 with the two shed.
Well, I'm just looking at the one.
Yeah, it's 198.
You're not going to be putting in electricity in there?
No. No plumbing. No plumbing. No electric.
Not going to be used for any kind of extra living space?
No.
Merely for the storage of
For
gardening materials? What would
yeah.
normally be
Yeah.
a bicycle, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
All right, board members, anybody have any more questions? Go ahead.
Is there a possibility that you just have the one large shed? Because you do have a gazebo, and you have a smaller shed, and now you're adding a larger shed, which is really, to maintain your big backyard, everything is going to be pretty much close together. And I don't think it looks very, no curb appeal, so to speak. Is it possible that you could just use the one larger shed? As long as you're keeping the gazebo as well as,
I mean, the smaller shed is like a metal shed, and this is the wood shed. So
Well, and I think what Ms. Andrews was trying to indicate is, couldn't you just compact everything and use you have a 64-foot shed, a square foot shed, 8 by 8. You're putting in 200. Why wouldn't the 200 be sufficient? In other words, you could minimize, well, I know that shed's compliant, but you might want to compact it so you wouldn't have two sheds.
and a gazebo.
Well, gazebo's a whole different usage, but aesthetically, you want to keep the other one as well, right?
yes.
It's actually not in violation of anything, so. Any other questions?
Chairman, I do have one question. Mr. Singh, do you know the height of the shed?
Yeah, 9 feet.
9 feet, okay. I just wanted to make sure it didn't require anything else.
Okay. Let me go to the public on this matter. I don't think anybody's probably going to talk against it, but I have to. 13-2024Z, 49 Shirley Boulevard for a shed. Anyone interested in this matter? Comments? Please raise your hand or stand. They didn't stand, so lucky. Close the public portion. Any final comments, sir?
No.
Okay. Basically, this is just a shed where this is your father's home, and he wants more storage for the gardening materials, landscaping, et cetera. All right. Someone interested in moving this for C variance under hardship, C hardship, right?
Testaverde, I'll move it.
Okay.
Izzo, second?
Roll call, please.
Ms. Andrews?
Yes.
Ms. Chevalier?
Yes.
Mr. Izzo?
Yes.
Mr. Scogno?
Yes.
Mr. Stoner?
Yes.
Ms. Testaverde?
Yes.
Chairman Sullivan?
Yes, you'll get a resolution by the next meeting. Does he need, see, building permits?
Being that it's under 200 square feet, no, just a zoning permit.
Okay. You'll get it by the next meeting, okay? So after that, you can do your construction, however that gets done. All right? Thank you for appearing.
All right, thank you very
Father
much.
as well.
Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Thanks.
That does bring us to the end of our agenda. There is no one else left in the room for a public portion, so we'll move on from that. Any comments from the township? Next meeting is
July 18th.
busy agenda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not as busy as tonight.
Not as busy.
Tonight was crazy. I apologize.
And Mr. Clancy, anything on the legal end?
No, we should have all these resolutions ready for you.
Okay. Board members, final comments? Won't see you until 4th of July. I wish everyone a healthy, happy holiday. All those watching at home, please be safe over the holiday. Move for an adjournment? Someone want to move for an adjournment, please? All in favor? Any opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody.